Hey YouTubers, Roland Martin here with another exciting Roland Martin YouTube adventure. You know, I travel all over the place and I do little seminars and stuff, and one of the biggest questions I've ever asked is, what's my most exciting fishing trip? What's the neatest fishing trip I've ever done? Well, there's a lot of really neat ones, and I'm going to tell you some of them in the long run, but probably the one that I'm most proud of, the first one I'm really proud of, is fishing with George H.W. Bush, the first Bush president. And I'm telling you, I'm not a political person. I fish with Democrats and Republicans. I never ask anybody who's what, because let's face it, fishing is one grand sport. It crosses all the lines of religion and politics. It's more important than all that. And so I'm not a politically oriented person. But when I had the opportunity to fish with the president, what an honor. Let me tell you the story. Ray Scott is the president of B.A.S.S Angler Sportsman Society, and he's responsible for many of these trophies and all the tournaments that I've fished and all the great springboard of opportunity I had fishing the tournaments and going on to television, because Ray was the guy that steered all that. Well, one of the things Ray did years ago was when President Bush was running for his presidency, he liked Ray, and he had met Ray, and he'd come down and fish with Ray in his pond in Montgomery, Alabama, and Ray became his Alabama's campaign manager, southeastern, I guess, campaign manager to help for his election. But anyway, it all happened, and of course, President Bush got elected. Well, Ray had some favors being involved with the president in his election campaign. So one of the things he asked the president after he was elected was, Ray said, hey, Mr. President, we have a church called Pintlala Baptist Church, and we're going to have an Eagles of Angling tournament. This is the big trophy. And this Eagles of Angling, this trophy is worth a lot of money. It's all solid bronze. And it's this thing for raising money for the Pintlala Baptist Church, like $1 million. And Ray's plan, he's really kind of smart. He says, listen, we're going to get about 15 teams together. They're going to be industry teams like Bass Pro Shop and Berkeley and Ranger Boats and all these great big teams. And we're going to have 4 or 5 people on each team, and they're all going to pay $10,000 a team to come and fish, because the president's going to come to the tournament, and he's going to be the guest of honor, and he's going to fish the tournament as well. And there's going to be 2 lucky anglers, 2 pro fishermen that are going to be able to fish with the president. Okay? So we all get to Montgomery, Alabama. It's so neat. Here comes the president. Boy, what a big honor. He's actually a sitting president at the time. All this security and all these snipers in the trees and state police everywhere and photographers all over the place. It's really a big deal. So anyway, I had met President Bush on a previous occasion because Ray had Bush come to a tournament on Lake Texoma when he was CIA director. He was still CIA director for the government, and he was just thinking about running for president. And so he came and came to us and spoke to us about the upcoming election back in 1979 or something or other. Anyway, I remember meeting George W. Bush then, and we talked fishing, we talked about tarpon, we talked about bass, and he just loves to fish. So I spent a lot of time, as he was then a CIA director. Okay, well, so now we get all to Ray's place, and he's the president of the United States now, and we're going to have a dart throwing contest to see who fishes with the president of the United States. So now my partner is Orlando Wilson, and Orlando and I did a lot of television work together. So here we don't know anything about darts. The dartboard's about 30 feet across the room. There's about 100 people there to throw these darts to see who fishes with the president. Well, I throw the dart, boom, bullseye. Wow, like I'm a dart expert, I'm not. And Orlando throws the dart, don't, bullseye. He's no dart expert, but we won the dart throwing contest, so now it's our honor to fish with the President of the United States. Well, we'd already determined this before the President had come in, before he flew in. So we're now in the cavalcade that goes to McGill Air Force Base to pick up the President. He's coming in on the big Air Force One. We come out on the driveway to the tarmac, and here comes the President with all the Social Security guys. And again, I'd met him before. We shook hands. He asked me, he says, well, Roland, I remember talking to you before about fishing. How's the tarpon fishing? We started talking tarpon fishing. So we came back, and by the way, when we're walking around, the security forces guy says, Roland, you're pretty good size. Stand right on your president's left shoulder. And Ray, you're pretty good. Stand right in front of him like this, and this other guy, Orlando, you do it. Everybody had to group around the president, a little group, as we walked everywhere. And so I said, well, what are we doing that for? He says, you're his human shield. In case some sniper starts shooting at the president, we have you in the way. Okay. So I mean, oh gosh, okay. So this is kind of spooky. So anyway, we're walking the president back to the car, and we get in, we come back to the lake, and it's really cool. Now it's time to fish. Okay. We get out in the boat. Boy, the president, he likes to fish. He had an ambassador reel. He loves to fish rattle traps. Right off the bat, he catches a 5-pound bass, and we're doing good. I catch a 6-pound. Everybody's catching fish. And all of a sudden, the president throws out there with this trusty little rattle trap. And he's, oh, I got one now. There's a photo boat over here and a sniper up in a tree over here. And I know all these people are around, and everybody's watching. He catches this nice bass, and he's unhooking this bass. And all of a sudden, it slips out of his hand. The rattle trap hook gets into his thumb, and it's dangling right here. He said, oh, God, Roland, oh, my God. And so I run over to the president, grab the fish, and get it off the hook. Now, nobody really knows that he's hooked at this point. Everybody's kind of looking around, and we're kind of messing with this fish like we're unhooking it. And he says, Roland, he said, I got a problem. I said, Mr. President, we're going to have to call. We have to get you into the hospital. We have to get you fixed because you got a hook in your finger. That's a big deal. He said, no. And he said, kind of an explicit no with another word. And he said, we're not going to do that. He says, if you call and bring attention to the fact that I'm hooked, they'll make a national emergency out of it, and they'll take me to Walter Reed Hospital, and it'll be in the news, and I'll just have more grief, and I won't be able to fish. So he said, just take the hook out. I got another idea. So we let the fish go. He says, what I'm going to do, Roland, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get down on my knees. I'm going to get down and put my finger in the ice chest and get it all numb. And when I tell you, I'm going to come up and I want you to take these pliers and rip that hook out. Just rip it out. I said, okay, Mr. President. I hope it works. Okay. Wow, that's a big deal. So now he gets down on his knees. Look at this. I want to show you what he's doing. He's down on his knees like this. And he's in the ice chest. Now here's people watching us all over the place. There's people everywhere watching us. And he's got his hand down in the ice chest trying to get it all numb. And to make everybody think, he said, hey, you guys want a Coke? And he said, hey, Roland, you want a Coke? And he's reaching down and giving us a Coke. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Hey, Orlando, you want a Coke? Yeah, here's a Coke. And here's the President of the United States looking across at us in the boat, on his knees, handing his fishing buddies Coca-Colas. Now, what is all this about? So nobody could figure this out. I mean, they don't have a clue that he's hooked, number one. And they just don't know why he's doing that. Well, finally, it's good and numb. He stands up and says, Roland, pull the hook out. And I come over to him, and yes, Mr. President, I grab it with the pliers, I pull the hook out and kind of turn away, kind of nonchalant. He kind of turns back what he's doing. He says, fine. He says, that's all good. He bled a little bit. He started fishing. Nobody ever knew that the President of the United States was hooked. And it was so cute. But that's not the end of the story. The press secretary called after the tournament. And said, Mr. Martin, the President of the United States is having a state dinner. It's a black tie event for the President of Chile, talking about some fishing and things. And since you're a fisherman, we thought to get some fishermen there and just come to this big state dinner. It's a black tie event. I said, golly day, where? At the White House. Oh, really? Oh, that's good. So I tell my wife at the time, I said, hey, it's a black tie event. I got plenty of black ties. She says, no, you dummy. A black tie is for a tuxedo. And so, okay. So we rented a tuxedo, and we got all dressed up, and we went to the White House. So they're seating everybody around the White House. Really a nice, big, formal dinner, and here's the President of the United States and the President of Chile and all these other big-time deals. I happen to sit next to Charlton Heston. Now, we're talking about Charlton Heston. I'm talking about Ben-Hur. I'm talking about the Ten Commandments. I'm talking about a big, giant guy. I'm talking about the NRA president. And back then, he was the president of the NRA. Really, really important guy. He's sitting right there. And so the first thing I do is I make pleasantries. And how are you, sir? I'm Roland Martin. I'm a celebrity fisherman as well. And blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I said. Something like that. And I asked him, I said, Mr. Heston, do you fish? And he said, no, not really. He says, I like to hunt, and of course, involved with NRA. Yeah, okay. So we're nice, and it's a pretty nice meal. Everything's fine till the end of the meal. Now, there's honor guards around the White House. These are young officers, and they were all Marine Corps officers, and they were dressed up in real nice, fancy, formal suits. And this one was a major, Marine Corps major, dressed up really fine, and he came over to us at the end of the meal and walked up to us, and Charlton Heston and I are standing here, and he says, "Sir," kind of looking at the two of us, "may I have your autograph?" And Charlton Heston said, kind of snotty, "No, I don't give autographs." And the Marine Corps major said, "No, sir, I'm a fisherman. I want Roland Martin's autograph." I just about died. You know, here's the icon of all icons, and he won't even give an autograph, but the Marine Corps major didn't even want his autograph. He wanted my autograph, so it was really kind of cute. That was the end of that story, and I have a lot more really neat stories to come, but that was probably the biggest honor I had at that point. I've had a couple others since that are probably equally as good, but hey, that was a good one. Again, I'm not politically motivated in any way, and everybody's equal when they're in the boat, whether they're the President of the United States or my lawn man. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference because fishing is a great sport. It crosses all boundaries of politics and religion. Now, here's a special photograph that Johnny Morris took, and I'm standing here talking to the President of the United States in the boat. I'm a little overweight there. And Johnny took the picture and he said, "Roland, did I ever tell you that you're full of," and he had another bad word on there. And that was just a little picture that he sent me. It was really kind of cute. But anyway, listen, thanks for subscribing. Hey, you guys are so good, and you girls are so good. And I really appreciate you watching the video. So thanks, and we'll give you another neat story and another great YouTube adventure real soon. Thank you.